1 hour before her wedding, Niall Carter heard something she was never supposed to hear. Not a rumor, not a misunderstanding. The truth. The man she was about to marry, the man she had loved for 3 years, was on the phone, calmly explaining how their entire relationship had been planned, designed, executed. She wasn't his partner. She was his strategy. And in that moment, Niall had a choice. She could walk away and save herself the humiliation, or she could walk down that aisle anyway and make sure he never forgot it. She chose the second. If this story has your attention, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Niall Carter was 27 years old, and for the first time in her life, she thought she had found something real. Not just love, safety. She had warm brown skin that glowed in the right light, soft eyes that lit up when she laughed, a quiet grace that made people lean in when she spoke. But more than anything, she had hope, the kind that made her believe in happy endings. Atlanta-born and raised, Georgetown educated, Columbia graduate. Her father, Dr. Ronald Carter, was one of the most respected surgeons in the Southeast. Her mother, Deborah Carter, a retired Spelman professor. The Carter name carried weight. Old Atlanta money, quiet power, the kind of family that owned buildings, not just apartments. But none of that mattered to Niall as much as the feeling she got when Han Seo-jun looked at her, like she was the only person in the room, like she was enough, just as she was. She worked as a senior partnership manager at Orem Health. She was good at what she did, very good, but she didn't define herself by it. Because Niall had spent too many years watching men fall in love with her resume. Her education, her connections, her family name. Never her. She'd learned to recognize the pattern. The way their eyes lit up when they heard Georgetown. The way they leaned in when she mentioned her father's work. The way they asked about her network before they asked about her dreams. It made her careful, guarded, always watching for the moment when she'd become a means to an end. So when she met Seo-jun, and he asked her about her favorite childhood memory instead of where she went to school, she thought she'd finally found someone different. She thought wrong, but she didn't know that yet. Han Seo-jun was 32, tall, composed, quietly magnetic, the kind of handsome that didn't announce itself. The second son of Chairman Han Sung-il. Hanil Group, one of the largest South Korean conglomerates in the world. Real estate, biotech, luxury hospitality, financial services, operating in 15 countries, revenue in the billions. But Seo-jun didn't act like old money. He wore simple suits, drove himself to meetings, never name-dropped, never made anyone feel small. He seemed humble, real, approachable. That should have been the first warning. Because men like that, men with that much power who act like they have nothing to prove, are usually hiding something. They met at an industry summit in New York 2 years ago. Late spring, Niall had been presenting on the African and Black American wellness consumer market, a segment that global brands consistently underestimated and misunderstood. She'd spent months on the research, built a presentation that was sharp, data-driven, unapologetic. After her talk, while everyone else networked over champagne and small talk, Seo-jun walked up to her. No business card in hand, no rehearsed pitch. He just smiled. "You made them uncomfortable," he said. "Good." Niall laughed. She couldn't help it. He didn't ask for her card. He asked if she wanted to get coffee and talk about something other than work. She said yes. That was the beginning. For 2 years, Seo-jun was everything she'd ever wanted. He remembered her mother's birthday without being reminded. He showed up to her company events even when he was exhausted from travel. He brought her father a first-edition medical text he'd been searching for, tracked it down through a private collector in London. He learned how she took her tea, the exact temperature, the exact amount of honey. He never made her feel small, never dismissed her work, never treated her like an accessory. He was patient, kind, present. Everything felt intentional, thoughtful, real. He proposed in her childhood home, not at some fancy restaurant with a photographer hiding in the corner, not on a beach at sunset with a videographer in the distance. In the living room where she used to play as a little girl, surrounded by her parents. In the home that had always meant safety. The ring was custom-made, based on a description her grandmother had once given her when Niall was 12, a ring she'd never owned but dreamed of. Niall had mentioned it once, 2 years ago, and he'd remembered. Niall cried. Her mother cried. Her father, Dr. Ronald Carter shook Seojin's hand and said, "You're a good man." He believed it. So did Niel. But someone else didn't. Ryu Min-jae, Seojin's older brother, the heir to Hanil Group, the firstborn son who would one day run everything. Min-jae had flown in from Seoul a week before the wedding. He was taller than Seojin, sharper in his features, more controlled in his movements. He watched more than he spoke, and when he did speak, every word felt deliberate, calculated, like he'd already thought through 3 responses before choosing one. Niel met him at a family dinner 3 nights before the ceremony. The Han family had rented a private room at a restaurant in Buckhead. Seojin's mother was there, 2 uncles, a few family associates. And Min-jae? He was polite, respectful, impeccably mannered. But there was something in the way he looked at her. Not romantic, not hostile, concerned, like he was trying to figure out if she knew, if she understood, if she was in on it. After dinner, as everyone moved to the lounge area, Min-jae approached her on the terrace. The Atlanta skyline glittered behind him. "You seem happy," he said quietly. His English was perfect, no accent, but somehow more formal than Seojin's. "I am," Niel replied, smiling. He nodded, looked out at the city. Then, after a long pause, "My brother is lucky to have you." It didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a warning, or maybe an apology. Niel laughed it off. "I'm the lucky one," she said. Min-jae looked at her for a moment longer, his expression unreadable. Then he said, very quietly, "I hope that stays true." And he walked away. Niel didn't understand what he meant, but the way he said it made her chest tighten, made her hands feel cold. She pushed the feeling down, ignored it, told herself she was being paranoid. She was wrong to do that. The wedding was held at a historic estate outside Atlanta, a venue that had once been a plantation, purchased and transformed by a black family into one of the most celebrated event spaces in the South. Reclaimed ground. Niel had chosen it deliberately. 300 guests. Seojin's family had flown in from Seoul. His mother, 2 uncles, Min-jae, and a small delegation of Han family associates. Niel's side was Atlanta society, sorority sisters from Spelman, family friends who'd known her since she was a child, professors, doctors, lawyers, people whose names carried history. The morning was perfect. October in Atlanta. Cool air that smelled like turning leaves. Golden light that made everything look like a painting. Niel stood in the bridal suite in her gown, custom-made by a Nigerian-American designer she'd discovered at Lagos Fashion Week. Ivory silk, hand-embroidered gold thread at the neckline and sleeves. A nod to both her heritage and the Korean pojagi textile pattern Seojin had introduced her to. Her mother was fixing her veil. Tiana, her maid of honor and best friend since freshman year at Georgetown, was arranging the bouquet. Everything was perfect. Every detail planned. Every moment choreographed. Then Niel's phone buzzed. She almost didn't look, but something made her pick it up. Unknown number. For words. Ask him about Nari. Niel stared at the screen. Her heart started to race. Who was Nari? A client? A colleague? Why would someone send this now? She set the phone down, tried to breathe, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Niel? You okay, baby?" her mother asked. "I'm fine," Niel said quickly. Too quickly. 15 minutes later, she needed air. She told her mother she was going to check on the florist, make sure the ceremony arrangements were perfect. Instead, she walked down a back corridor, a quiet servant's hallway that connected to a small garden. That's when she heard his voice. Seojin. He was on the phone, speaking in Korean. Niel had been learning Korean for 2 years. Private tutoring twice a week. Hours of practice with language apps. Watching Korean dramas with Seojin, pausing to ask what words meant. She understood enough. More than enough. "Yes, I understand the timeline," Seojin was saying. His voice was calm, professional. "The marriage gives us what we need. Once the paperwork is completed, the joint property filings, the American business licensing, Hanil North America will have full domestic legal standing without additional regulatory scrutiny." Niel stopped breathing. Her body went cold. "Her family name in Atlanta is the key," he continued. "Everyone trusts the Carter name. It opens doors that money alone cannot. The connections, the reputation, the network, it's perfect." "And the woman?" a voice on the other end asked. There was a pause, a long one. Then Seojin said, very quietly, She believes this is real. That's what makes it work. Niall felt the world tilt. No, that can't be what he meant. Maybe she misunderstood. Maybe the context was different. Maybe. Nari is handled? Seojun asked. The voice on the other end said something Niall couldn't catch. Good, Seojun replied. She knows to stay away today. After the legal matters are settled, we'll address that situation properly. He ended the call. Niall's legs gave out. She slid down the wall. Slowly, like her bones had turned to water, until she was sitting on the cold stone floor. Ivory silk spreading around her like spilled milk. She couldn't cry. She couldn't scream. She just sat there, staring at nothing. 3 years. 3 years of late-night conversations. 3 years of I love yous. 3 years of planning a future. For this? Her chest felt hollow, like someone had reached in and scooped everything out. Left her empty. She thought about the ring. Her grandmother's dream ring. Had that been calculated too? Researched? Weaponized? She thought about her father shaking Seojun's hand, saying you're a good man. She thought about every moment, every gesture, every word, and wondered which ones had been real, if any of them had been real. She sat there for 2 full minutes. Then something inside her shifted. Not anger. Not yet. Something colder. Something harder. She stood up, smoothed her gown, straightened her veil, wiped the dust from the silk, and walked back to the bridal suite. Tiana was waiting at the door. Girl, where did you? She stopped when she saw Niall's face. Not tears. Not rage. The absence of them. What happened? Tiana whispered. Niall looked at her best friend. The woman who'd been there through every heartbreak, every disappointment, every 2 a.m. phone call. I need you to trust me, she said quietly. Don't ask questions. Not yet. Can you do that? Tiana studied her face. Searching. What do you need? I need you to help me get ready, Niall said. Because I'm walking down that aisle. Tiana's eyes went wide. Niall, please. Tiana hesitated, then nodded slowly. Okay. But that wasn't even the worst part. The ceremony was beautiful. Heartbreakingly beautiful. The florist had done extraordinary work. White roses and gold accents everywhere. A string quartet played Pachelbel's canon. The October light fell through the trees at a perfect angle. Golden. Soft. Once-in-a-lifetime lighting. Photographers would later say they'd never seen anything like it. Niall stood at the back of the aisle with her father. Dr. Ronald Carter looked down at his daughter. His only child. His little girl. You ready, sweetheart? He asked gently. Niall looked down the aisle. At Seojun, standing there in his suit. Calm. Composed. Waiting for her. Looking like every dream she'd ever had. She almost turned around. Almost walked away. Almost told her father everything right there. But then she thought, if this is the last time he gets to lie to me, I'm going to make him remember it. I'm going to be so beautiful it haunts him. I'm going to smile so perfectly he'll wonder if I knew all along. I'm going to make this the most expensive mistake he ever made. I'm ready, she said. The music started. She walked. Every step felt like a performance. She was radiant, poised, beautiful. Guests whispered about how stunning she looked, how happy she seemed, how perfect they were together. But inside, she was falling apart, piece by piece, step by step. Seojun watched her come toward him. His expression was soft, warm, full of emotion, like he was looking at the woman he loved. She wanted to scream, but she didn't. She reached the altar, took his hands, and felt them trembling, just slightly, almost imperceptibly. She looked up at his face, and for a split second, she saw something. Doubt, guilt, something real underneath the mask. But it was gone before she could name it. Buried under layers of control, the officiant spoke. The vows were exchanged. When Seojun said, I do, his voice was steady. When Niall said, I do, hers was steadier. She felt her father's presence in the front row. Strong, steady, proud, unaware. And in the back of the room, she saw him. Ryu Minjae, watching, not smiling, not celebratory, just watching. Like he'd been expecting something to go wrong. Like he was waiting for the moment it would. The reception began. Champagne, toasts, laughter, music. Niall moved through it like a ghost. Smiling, greeting guests, dancing with her father, cutting the cake. Everything perfect, everything fake. Then Tiana appeared at her side. Her face was pale, eyes wide. Niall, she whispered urgently. There's a woman at the gate. Niall's stomach dropped. What? She says her name is Chai Nari, Tiana said. She says she needs to speak to Seojun. Security stopped her at the entrance, but she's not leaving. Tiana paused. Her voice dropped even lower. Niel, she's pregnant. Niel set her champagne glass down. Very slowly. Very carefully. How far along? She says 4 months. For months. Niel's mind raced. For months ago they'd been ring shopping. Touring venues. Tasting wedding cakes. Planning their honeymoon. For months. Bring her in, Niel said quietly. Tiana stared at her. What? Bring her to the side parlor, Niel said. Quietly. Don't make a scene. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Niel, are you sure? Please. Tiana hesitated, then nodded, and left. Niel found her father first, pulled him aside, told him everything. The phone call, the text, the woman at the gate. He didn't say a word, just listened, his jaw tight, his eyes hard. When she finished, he nodded once. I'll come with you. They walked to the parlor together, and there she was, Chainari, a small, beautiful Korean woman in her late 20s. Simple black dress, visibly pregnant, visibly terrified. Her eyes were red from crying, mascara smudged. But when she saw Niel, something shifted. The fear turned into something sharper. Anger, pain, jealousy. You, Nari said, her voice shaking. You're the one. Niel sat down slowly, carefully. I'm Niel, she said. Tell me why you're here. Nari laughed bitterly. Why I'm here? You think you can just take him and I'll disappear? Niel's chest tightened. I don't understand. He was mine first, Nari said, her voice breaking. We were together for 6 years. 6 years. And then you show up with your American connections and your family name, and suddenly I'm nothing. Niel felt dizzy. I didn't know about you. Of course you didn't know, Nari snapped. Because that's what he does. He makes you feel special. Like you're the only one. Like you matter. She laughed again. Hollow. Broken. But you're not the only one. You never were. Niel's hands were shaking. She pressed them together in her lap. When did he? 8 months ago, Nari said. He told me he needed to marry an American woman for business. Just for a year. Maybe 2. That it was temporary. Strategic. That when it was over, he'd come back to me. That we'd finally be together the way we were supposed to be. She touched her stomach. Gently. Protectively. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks ago. I tried to call him. Over and over. He didn't answer. I tried to text. Nothing. So I came here. Because I needed him to know. Her voice cracked. Because this is his child. She looked at Niel. Eyes full of anger and grief and desperation. You think you're the bride? Nari whispered. You stole him from me. Niel couldn't breathe. The room felt too small. Too hot. She wanted to say something. Wanted to defend herself. Wanted to explain that she didn't know. That she was a victim too. But the words wouldn't come. Because Nari believed it. She genuinely believed Niel was the other woman. The interloper. The one who destroyed everything. And in that moment, Niel realized. She might be right. Maybe she was the other woman. Maybe Nari was the real relationship. And Niel was just the strategy. Her father stepped forward. Miss Chai, he said gently. I think you need to speak with Seojun directly. Nari's eyes filled with fresh tears. I tried. He won't see me. He won't answer. He acts like I don't exist. Dr. Carter nodded slowly. Then I'll make sure he does. And that's when everything changed. Dr. Carter walked back to the reception, found Seojun near the bar, smiling, shaking hands, playing the perfect groom, and very quietly said, There's someone here who needs to speak with you. Now. Seojun's face went pale. Who? Chai Nari. The color drained completely. All the composure. All the control. Gone. She's here. She's 4 months pregnant, Dr. Carter said evenly. And she's not leaving until she talks to you. Seojun stood frozen. And then, from across the room, Ryu Minjae appeared. He walked over slowly, deliberately, looked at his younger brother. You need to handle this, Minjae said quietly. Now. Seojun looked at him. Desperate. Panicked. You knew? Minji's expression didn't change. I suspected. He glanced toward the parlor. Then back at Seojun. Go. Seojun walked toward the parlor. But before he could get there, Nari stepped out. Into the main hall. Into the reception. In front of everyone. Guests turned. Conversations stopped. The music kept playing. But no one was listening anymore. Nari stood there. pregnant, trembling, looking directly at Seojun. You promised, she said. Her voice carried. Clear, loud, desperate. You promised me it was temporary. Seojun froze. Nari, you told me to wait, she said, louder now. Tears streaming down her face. You told me 1 year. Maybe 2. You told me you'd come back. She touched her stomach. This is your child, Seojun. The room erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Shock. Phones came out. Niel stood at the edge of the crowd, watching, feeling everything and nothing at the same time. Her wedding, her day, falling apart in front of 300 people. And then she felt someone beside her. Ryu Min-jae. He didn't say anything, just stood there, steady, solid, present. And for the first time all day, Niel didn't feel completely alone. Seojun tried to speak. Nari, this isn't. Isn't what? Nari shouted. Isn't the place? Isn't the time? She laughed bitterly. You made me wait 6 years. I think I've waited long enough. Niel's mother stepped forward, trying to salvage something. I think everyone needs to calm down. Calm down. Nari turned to her. Your daughter married the father of my child. And she knew. She had to know. Niel's voice finally came back. I didn't know, she said quietly. But her voice carried. Nari turned to her. How could you not know? Niel met her eyes. Because he lied to both of us. The words hung in the air. Heavy, true, devastating. And just like that, the bride became the other woman in her own wedding. Seojun stood in the middle of the room. Trapped. Exposed. Nowhere to run. Min-jae watched from the side. His face unreadable. But his eyes were on Niel. Not his brother. Her. And in that moment, Niel realized something. Min-jae had known all along. He tried to warn her. Tried to give her a way out. And she'd ignored him. Dismissed him. Chosen Seojun instead. But what Niel didn't know was that Ryu Min-jae had been watching long before today. So tell me, was Niel really the victim here? Or did she walk into something she should have seen coming? And if you were in her place, would you stay or walk away? Comment stay or leave. And if you want part 2, drop part 2 below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.